He has numerous other experiences, including Senior Financial Operating Officer with Automation Data Corporation, which is a privately held automotive company, President and COO of a subsidiary of Central Holding Company, Financial Manager with Pulte Home Corporation, and practiced as a CPA with Deloitte & Touche as an Emerging Partner Specialist. Mr. Gunn has a Bachelor of Science degree from Oakland University and Master's Studies in Walsh College. He serves as a member of the Board of Visitors for Oakland University School of Business Administration, the Board of Directors of Wonder Pizza USA, Strategic Financial Services, Strategic Bank of Michigan, and is a member of the Gerson Lehman Group Accounting Council. He is also a former vice chair of the John F. Kennedy Small Business Caucus and a former board member of Digital Detroit, a nonprofit organization focused on energizing Michigan's high-tech economy, and his Association for the Corporate Growth and Medical Device Manufacturers Association. In 1992, Mr. Gunn was recognized as an influential business leader in Crane's 40 Under 40. Wow. That's impressive. So after that, I'm going to sit down and turn you over to Mr. Gunn. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carpenter. Thank you. Hey, you guys are late. You come in here clapping like that. You don't even know what you're talking about. So, entrepreneurial studies. You guys are in an entrepreneurial program. This is your curriculum. This is new to me. When I went to school, they didn't have this. As a matter of fact, I don't think I knew how to spell entrepreneurism, let alone have any classes for it. When we learned about entrepreneurism, we learned about startup businesses, right? Early stage, you're going to go out and you're going to make your own pizzas or whatever. You're going to ship them down the street in your Pinto, and you're going to bring them, and you're going to collect 50 additional cents for your delivery. But so, how many of you are juniors, seniors? All right. So it's all senior program right now. All right. Let me ask. You go through this program academically, and you're learning about finance, marketing. I just nod because I don't really know your curriculum. I really want to understand. So when I talk to you, I can emphasize certain things, experiences that I have from a practical standpoint that will dovetail into the things you're learning in a textbook, and maybe some of the things you guys are talking about in the classroom. So you're going through the whole, all the disciplines within a business. You're talking about starting a business from scratch, okay, and about venture capital, angel financing, all right, private equity, initial public offerings, public companies, Sarbanes-Oxley. These are all familiar terms? Everything's got it down? Okay. All right. So I just want to get a sense as to, the vocabulary. It'll help me, again, as I talk to you about some of the experiences that I've had. So maybe it'll, you get one thing from this discussion or two things from this discussion. Maybe it sticks, maybe it doesn't. So it's nice to see all of you, and hopefully you enjoy this. Hopefully it'll be entertaining and maybe a little informative. So when you think about your textbook and you think about all the things you learned, it really comes down to what do you love to do? What are you passionate about? And so as you get older and you find yourself in that corporate, ladder, you didn't take your entrepreneurial path, you decided to not chase your dream, you're going to go over here and you're going to become an accountant, you're going to become a marketing specialist, you're going to become an engineer, and you just didn't have the guts to go out on your own in the beginning. And maybe you just said, I want to get a little bit of an understanding as to what the game's all about, right? I want to go into the corporate path because I want to have an appreciation for the politics of a big company. Maybe I want to understand how they buy things. Maybe I want to understand how to sell to them. So ultimately, when I do chase my dream, I understand, because they're going to be my customer, how I can monetize that relationship. So there's value in taking that corporate path. But as you get a little older, somehow that dream you have gets a little foggy, a little rusty on it. You forget about it. So when you try to think about it again, think about what you loved as a kid. Think about when you're a child, something you love to do. You like to put stuff together, the clay, the Play-Doh, working on your bicycle, whatever it was, the tires. You love the tires, so you want to create a new tire. So in other words, just try and go back to what it was that you got excited about. You're going to leave your comfort zone. Well, a lot of you don't have a comfort zone yet, so that's a good thing. Someone asked me the other day, when's the best time for someone to start a business? It's always a good time to start a business. What's the easier time? Well, I think I just gave you an example. If you go the corporate path, your dream might get a little dusty and it might get a little foggy, but there's a process you're learning in that corporate environment that can become really valuable to you when you're on the outside looking in, knocking on the door, trying to get back in and sell them something. So both can be really valuable. But once you've gotten into that corporate ladder and you're in there and you're comfortable and that salary check, that check's coming in every 2 weeks and the car payment's going out the door and the house payment and the kids, that dream gets a little further away. It's a little harder to come back to it. So if you decide to cut out, you're going to get out of this comfort zone. You're going to have your dream's going to be a little further away from you, and you're going to have a lot of naysayers. And you're going to have the family saying, wait a minute, we put you through school to become an engineer, and you got this great job, and you're going to leave that job now. What are you, nuts? So you're going to have the naysayers, so you got to have strong faith. You want to believe in what it is you're going to do. And then I think the thing that you might be doing a little better here that we didn't do a really good job in school, and I try to do a little better job with my children, is failure, risk, right? That it's not a bad thing to fail. It may not look good in the newspaper. You may not want to go over to your family after they gave you a little bit of money to try and get you started and you failed. But there's a process in that failure, and you all hear it, but it's true. You learn more in your failures. And at some point in time, if you have a few of those failures, it's kind of like a character building thing. It's, okay, well, I've got enough character. I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to lose anymore. I don't want to fail anymore. I want to win now. So your determination gets a little stronger and your passion gets a little stronger. So again, you want to have a good source of faith. You want to have a support network, but you're going to have naysayers. The other thing that I'd say a lot of entrepreneurs don't do very well is they don't put their dream in other people's hands. The business is only going to grow as fast and as strong and as deep and as broad as you're able to make the decisions every day. So empowering others and delegating to others is a really important thing to learn. Those are some of the skills you get in a corporate structured environment. They teach you how to manage others, delegate to others. Those are valuable skills. You can develop them here. They can be innate. You can learn them in your household with your family, or you can learn them the hard way, starting your business and trying to figure out how to do that. I use this graph here as something that I've taken with me to a number of places. It's a great visual, I believe, in giving you what the life cycle of a startup is. So if you look at the center is your idea, your product, your process, your technology, whatever it happens to be. And, just because we can build it doesn't mean someone's going to buy it. Okay, I'm sure I'm saying things you've already heard from your professors and in your textbooks, but, we can build a lot of things. It doesn't mean that there's a market for it. It doesn't mean there's someone out there that's going to pay you for that idea, that service. So, and I'm going to give you some really specific examples about very successful opportunities and technologies and services that still struggled finding a home in the marketplace. So you got your idea, you enter the market. Maybe you should enter the market first. Maybe you should have gone out and got the voice of the customer before you developed your idea or your product. So there's a process there about learning about your great idea that everybody's got to have because it was your idea. So, of course, they're going to pay you for it. But if you go to a customer, and maybe that customer is your mom and dad, maybe it's your buddy down the street, maybe it's your friend, your girlfriend, you say, look, I've got this idea. Well, they're going to be polite. Well, yeah, I think that's a pretty good idea. Or, why are you thinking about that? But you want to do some real market research. You get the voice of the customer. Well, we'd rather have it pink. I think it's a good idea, but pink is a better color for that idea. You get the voice of the customer. Enter the market, get that intelligence, get some design wins or some customer wins. Those are ingredients that validate your idea. Those are also ingredients that allow you to grow your business financially, to get financial support, to then scale your business. So these are just rings we can come back to in various examples, but I think this is a valuable visual because it really kind of lays out the big steps. And then you literally can just put your whole plan around this. You can say, okay, here's my steps. This is what's going to happen to build my business. Now, which step do I do first, second, third? Just because the center ring is where the focus is doesn't necessarily mean you want to start there. You may want to go out into the marketplace and get the voice of the customer, and you may want to find out who the exit partners are before you start with the red spot. You may want to say, who would buy my company in the end if I built it in the way that I envision it? And by the way, would I architect that design of that company differently if I knew that XYZ company was going to buy it? And by the way, should I have channel partners, okay, selling into the marketplace when one of the channel partners could be a competitor to the guy that I want to sell to? So I want to be really careful not to build too many tentacles. I want to keep this nice and sweet and clean, and I want to be in this business 3 years and I want to sell out. So you really want to look at all these rings together in the early architecture of your business and your idea. When I look at a company, I look at it from 3 risks: the idea risk, the market risk, and the execution risk. There's probably 400 different risks you can look at in different ladders, but when I look at it, I try to keep it real simple. Okay, I look at the idea risk. What's the ability to prove the concept? Okay, can you get there? What's it going to take? What are the challenges? Once you got that done, what are the market risks? What are all the things you got to do to really validate it in the marketplace? And then once you've done that, what's the execution risk? For example, if it happens to be something that you have to customize every time you touch it, the execution risk could be very high. And your ability to scale the business beyond your artistic ability and your ability to make a decision on every step of the way is hamstrung by the fact that your business isn't scalable. By the way, this can be interactive. You can stop me, throw something at me. If you have a question, we can just, we can go into it. So you have an idea. You want to know if it'll work. You want to prove the concept. So I early on in my career, probably it was 1990. So how long ago was that? That's 17 years ago. 1990, I met some gentleman who had a little alpha product, little beta product in their engineering shop, and it was a medical device. It was a box about so big, and they had this wire attached to the box, and they had this little sensor using light-emitting diodes. And then it had these photo detectors on there, and you put this on your forehead, and you hold your breath, and there was a number on the screen, and that number would go down when you hold your breath. And you take a breath, and the number would come back up. So wow, it's pretty cool. It's telling you what the oxygen level is in your brain, non-invasively using light. So there's some interesting physics behind how that all works, and it worked. So you got to prove that, right? You say, okay, well that's good. That's information doctors never had before. So they're going to want this information, right? Because this information, they got to have it. It tells them about oxygen in the brain. Well, when would that be important? Well, when the patient's sleeping and can't talk, so under general anesthesia, under surgery. So God, that's about a lot of surgeries. Big market. How are we going to prove the FDA that that number is what we say it is, right? So there's this huge process you got to go through, and you got to take blood samples, and you got to take doctors who are residents, in training. And you pay them $100 to stick a needle way up in their neck, and these guys will do anything for $100. And take blood samples from their arm, and you got to do some mathematics, and you come up with a formula, and you validate the number that's on the forehead with the number that's, the blood samples. So we go through years of that, okay? Tens of millions of dollars. And we're right on the money, plus or minus 3%. The FDA gives us this little piece of paper, says, approved, FDA approved. Man, doctors are going to be at our doorstep tomorrow. We got FDA approval. We got a number that nobody's had before, right? When a patient's under general anesthesia, telling them how their brain's functioning. Come on. It's a $1 billion opportunity. Doctors didn't know what that number meant. Doctor didn't know what that number meant when the number went up, when the number went down. They never had that information before. You think that information is valuable to a doctor? Is a smoking gun. We hadn't thought about that. Because if the doctor's in there performing surgery and that number went down and he didn't do anything about it because he didn't know what the hell that number meant, he's screwed. And we're screwed. Because we just sold him something and we don't know what to do with that information. So, 10 years later, it's a $400 million company. It has hundreds of studies done on efficacy data that basically tells the doctor in every situation that that number means this, this, and this under these circumstances, under these various procedures. So we went into this game with the most valuable piece of information you can imagine, that nobody knew what it meant, didn't do our market study. I mean, you know, we talked to doctors, and yeah, that'd be really, you know, that'd be great information to have. I'd like to have that information. Well, this is like, you know, a research doctor who would love to have that information for research. But you go beyond the research institutions, and you go into the regular population of, you know, cardiac surgeons and carotid endovascular surgeons, and they're like, okay, I'm not a researcher. I'm cranking out bypass procedures, man. I want to know what that information means. I'm not doing a study to publish it in the New England Journal of Medicine. Those guys love this stuff. So we're talking to those guys. We're talking to the wrong people, okay? But we had a valuable billion-dollar idea, and today it's a $500 million idea, so it's getting there. But we got it wrong while we were getting it right. So here's another example. So I had some folks approach me and say, well, you know, you got it so bad at Somanetics. You got it so wrong there. You know, get it right the next time. So we'd like you to run our company. So I joined this company that had this literally proof of concept technology in the area of sound waves. And so I was CFO at the medical company, raising money for them, bringing the product to market, helping strategically, and putting channels in place, selling partners and things. And so I wanted to run my own company. And so, you know, I said, okay. So I joined a company called Clarity Technologies, January 2000. And so they had this little gimmicky thing, you know, where they would, these microphones, these 2 microphones, and they had all this noise around the room, and they'd blast this noise, and the microphones, and you'd talk while this noise is going around, and you talk into these microphones, and the output was a recording, and all the noise was gone. And all you heard was the voice. I'm just such a sucker, you know. You got a number for a brain. It goes up when you just hold your breath. It goes down, you know. So, so what did I just see here? I just saw me talking in a noisy room from 3-4 feet away to these microphones, and my speech was picked up, and the noise is gone, and the PhD who invented this said, yeah, basically I can extract speech from noise, because the properties of speech are different than the properties of noise. So I looked it up online, and, you know, because I don't know anything about sound waves. So I look it up, and yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, logically, you can do that. 2 microphones. You're basically using the amplitude differential that's flying over the microphones, and you're separating out one component from another. And so I joined the company. What the heck, I'll jump in. 10 weeks of cash left, you know. I'll figure it out. And that, by the way, that is the definition of entrepreneurism. Too ignorant to know better. Hopefully smart enough to figure it out once you're in. Okay? If you haven't heard that definition yet, let me tell you, that's a practical definition of entrepreneurism. So I've been there. And I hold entrepreneurs in the highest regard and don't even consider myself in that class, because I generally come in after a concept's been proven. I'm not the kind of person that comes up with these ideas. I'm the kind of person that's had the corporate ladder behind me, and I figured out the process and how to sell to companies and go in and help these idea people bring their products to market. So what were the flaws? What were the problems with this 2 microphone system? Well, what the hell has 2 microphones? Cell phone? Hearing aid? Headset? Hands-free system in a car? Who's going to pay for 2 microphones so that the background noise goes out? Market wasn't there yet. No one was talking to microphones 5 feet away, 3 feet away. This is 2000. Hands-free communications in the car wasn't yet, you know, in vogue. I mean, it was, you know, not a big deal then. We were talking about telematics. They were talking about, you know, getting rid of cell phones in cars. That was all coming. There's legislation in New York that was pending. 26 states were looking at eliminating handsets in the car. So we thought, wow, right in the front of the wave, if we can introduce 2 microphones into this marketplace and eliminate all the background noise when you're in a car, boom, we nailed it. And we were dead right. That was the market. 2005. We were 5 years off. And by the way, that 2 microphone solution didn't work when you put it into a product. It worked great on a desktop. in a room with speakers blaring out noise. But when you put it in a car, driving down the road, 70 miles an hour, couldn't replicate it, couldn't repeat it. So there are lots of problems with that story. But somehow we had assembled a team, and that's always key, by the way. The people are always key. We assembled a team that figured out how to reduce our technology from a 2-microphone solution to a 1-microphone solution. That was the trick. Because now, getting from a 2-microphone solution to a 1-microphone solution, we had software that could be embedded on a piece of silicon in any product that would replicate, that would almost mimic a 2-microphone solution. How cool was that? So let me tell you how cool it was. 6 months we're banging on the door at Motorola, who, by the way, somehow earlier I had convinced them to be a shareholder in our company, and they put millions of dollars in our company to be a partner with us in technology that they had for 50 years, but ours was better. Okay? Somehow we got there. 2003 now. They put millions of dollars in the company. They bet on us. They bet on our technology. And they used it for their hands-free systems in the car. And they started to use it for headsets. And where was the big market for Motorola? Their handsets. 80 million of them. 10 cents a copy, 20 cents a copy. I'm thinking, that's a big number. They're going to pay 20 cents. So 6 months we're banging on the door of the engineers associated with making the handsets. Well, this is going to be like a no-brainer. I mean, we're going to get in there, we're going to show them, we did big studies, we showed them the data. The data was big difference in performance of our technology over theirs. And so this is like a no-brainer. How much you guys want to pay us? You want to buy the company right now? What do you want? So I'm sitting in this meeting. My sales guys are like, they're just drooling. They're like so excited about this deal. They're calculating their commission checks, and it's going to be, I'm going to retire on this meeting. It's just crazy. So I go into this meeting, and I got 12 engineers across the table from us, and I got 5 of us sitting on this side. And the body language is terrible. It's just like it's not there. What's wrong with this picture? My sales guys banging across the table and telling them how exciting it is, and here's the data, and look at them. Your own people did all this work. And hopefully there's messages here for you guys. You're getting something out of this. It's not just storytelling. I'm sitting across the table from these engineers, and Joel, who's the head of this project, I said, Joel, let me ask you a question. If I gave you this technology today for free, would you use it? We got this much better performance. Your phones sound better. I mean, there's no background noise. He says, our customers like background noise. What are you talking about? We're killing ourselves over here limited to background noise. He said, our customers like a little bit of white noise so they know that there's a connection. If it's totally silent, you got to keep asking. You on the line? Hey, you there? That's number one. Number two, so we said, well, we could add noise back. We could add like a little bit of level of white noise, just kind of a little background, let you know you're there. So that's no problem. We can do that. I give it to you for free. Honest to God question I asked him. I'm CEO of the company sitting there. I got my sales guys drooling over here. I got data that shows our stuff's better. I'm going to ask the question. You guys aren't buying. How come you're not buying? If I gave it to you, would you buy it? No. Because I got to tune every phone, every base station, all my networks for your technology. And I got 50 years of experience with my stuff, and it's more painful and costly for me to integrate your better stuff than it is to just use my good old stuff. So, better's not always, the win. Now, I got to tell you, I was floored walking out of that room. How come we didn't know that? How come we didn't ask that question 6 months ago? How come we didn't know from them, if we gave it to them, that they would use it? Because that engineer wasn't going home at night and didn't have any pain. He didn't have any pain. He wasn't laying awake at night saying Nokia has a better noise cancellation system than I have, and I better find something or I'm going to lose market share. He was saying, I better have a sexier looking phone. It better have cooler buttons. It better be a better color. It better be a flatter design. I care less about the voice quality. That's Verizon's problem. God, it was devastating. Would you have thought about that? I mean, if I told you 20% better performance, and you say, yeah, sure they're going to buy it. They pay you 2 cents a copy, something. They pay you something for it. So the market wasn't there. They didn't care about it. Matter of fact, the #1 headset manufacturer in the world Plantronics was a shareholder in our company as well, and they used our technology for their next generation DSP-enabled product, which is a digital signal processing-enabled product. And I sat with the CEO, and he said, hey, we're doing this because, it's cool. The competitors are coming out with DSP-enabled products. Nobody gives a rat's gulu about, voice quality in these headsets. They care about, how's it look? How's it feel? Is it too heavy? Is it, clunky? Does it look cosmetically appealing? Industrial design. So what did we have? What did we have? Well, we had the car guys, because the car guys needed this technology. They needed the noise cancellation because it was really noisy in the car. So they needed to have that. We own the auto market. Motorola deployed it in their two-way radios. We actually, the way we got into Motorola is we put the technology in their Formula One racing cars. I wish I'd have brought that with me. It's amazing stuff. But there was a chief technology officer in Motorola. It's a really cool story. He had this fascination with auto racing, and it was his hobby. And so he ran all of the communications for a couple of teams in the Formula One racing. And one of them was Tony, anyways, it was the green team. There was a yellow team and green team that Motorola ran. And we put our technology in their two-way communication systems, and they literally could eliminate all the noise so they could communicate better to the pits, which allowed them, to add seconds to their time because they were, better communications allowed them to make better decisions. And so that's how we got into Motorola. That's how I got the $3 million investment from them by getting this CTO, this chief technology officer, who was, brilliant in the company, had hold more patents than anybody else in the history of Motorola. And this guy was revered, and he said, we want this technology. So that's how they invested in us. And so, anyways, I was someplace with the car stuff. So we became valuable to the silicon manufacturers. We looked upstream, kind of going back here. We said, okay, if we're going to exit someday, who's going to be the partner that benefits the most from our technology? Well, we had to look at the markets and figure out who is in those markets, and then who feeds into those markets. Who's the value seller, who's the distributor, who's the manufacturer, and who's the other software players. And then in the core was the silicon guys, because the silicon guys, once they built it, it touched everybody, touched the whole chain. So we knew that to scale the business, you put your technology on the chip, okay, and then the chip guys will sell it. The problem running your business that way is that every chip was different. So your technology had to be configured for all the chips. And they're turning these chips out, every 6 months there's a new chip. So in terms of scaling the business, it was hugely labor intensive. What we ultimately needed to do was have one chip. And that means we had to sell the company. So we had to be a partner with somebody who was prolific in the marketplace. And we looked at the marketplace and said, the Bluetooth guys, that's coming. This is 03, 04. That's coming. Bluetooth is going to be real. Who is the number one player on Bluetooth? CSR in Cambridge, England. We got aligned with them. We partnered with them. We put our stuff on their chips. We helped them sell their chips. We became valuable to them selling their chips because they had this cool technology on there and they could market it that way. And that's ultimately who bought us. I'm not quite sure if, I guess looking back at Somonetics and looking back at Clarity, I guess if you don't learn from your mistakes, you're destined to repeat them, right? It's something like that, and I'm sure it's in a textbook somewhere. I lived through those experiences, and I still make those mistakes. You still make the mistake of thinking you got something somebody's going to want, and you just can't. You don't have the time and the resources to go do a Harvard business study, Lawrence Technology entrepreneurial business study of the whole marketplace, right? You got to figure out. That's where the risk comes in. You got to figure out how you're going to get in the game with the least amount of information that mitigates the most amount of risk. How do you balance that? When do you make the choice to leap? And that is something that just, it's right in here. I mean, some of that's just innate. Some of it you just develop it over time. Some of it is, you need to spend more time doing your homework before you take that leap. But I would never have bet on those two examples of my life, as successful as those technologies ultimately were, And believe me, it wasn't because the technology itself was so brilliant. I mean, the team around it, the people around these ideas found ways to win. And that's it. You just can't give up. You almost have to close all the doors around you, and you have to now look at any other options. If someone else calls you for a job that's going to pay you $5,000 more, is going to give you a salary and paycheck, if you really believe in your dream, you got to figure out a way to get in the marketplace, because someone's got to want it. Someone's got to want it somehow, some way. So the business model. What's the business model? So you built it, right? You proved it works. Now you got a couple customers. What's your model? Do I have a direct sales force? Do I have distributors? Is the product really technical where I really got to handhold this thing? Once it's sold, do I have to integrate it? Is there a value-added component that I have to be concerned about? If I have channel partners, does that pollute my opportunity to exit the business? You know, go back to those circles, look at that, figure out, you know, what's your business model? Do I charge them on a subscription basis? Do I deploy it over to the internet on an ASP model? Do I host it? Do I sell it as a package? Do I bundle it with something else? I mean, these are all things that you may not be able to answer yourself. You want to surround yourself with a team. I'll give you an example. So I joined this software company with these 2 microphones. There's me and 1 employee. And there's a PhD teacher, who's kind of doing this stuff part-time, but it's her idea. She's a Caltech PhD, Stanford undergrad, brilliant person. And somehow she wanted me to take this in the market for her. And I swear I spent weeks at this thing, and I'm still trying to figure out, where do I go with this? So I called someone that I knew for 25 years at the time. Was actually a college roommate. And I said, Fred, I need you to take a look at something for me, and I think it's something you might find really exciting, and I think it's on the front end of a big market, expansion, because we're looking at speech recognition, trying to enable speech recognition, getting rid of background noise, allowed the speech engines to hear your words and then interpret them properly. And so he did a little homework, and his background, sales and marketing. Well, my background's finance, administration, operations. Strong finance. The other stuff pretty weak. Sales and marketing, 0. So he comes, when I meet him for lunch, I go through this little slide presentation I did for him. I did put 10 slides together. Here's the men's room in the office, and I found the little deli downstairs. That's slide 2, and slide 3 was, I'm in Ann Arbor, and I have no idea who the hell's in Ann Arbor, but I'm in Ann Arbor now. The office is there, and here's 5 places down the street. We can have lunch afterwards, and I can have a cocktail. This next slide said, the rest I don't have any idea. I have no idea, Fred. I don't know how to get this in the marketplace. And the business model, I did my homework. I looked at other people in the marketplace who were selling it, and this was all very early before anyone else had really developed any models. So generally, if you're doing something that is early stage, concept, entrepreneurial-like, cutting edge, front end, you're going to make it up. And you're going to have in your head an idea what the model is. And you're going to go in a marketplace, and the customer's going to say, I like this. This is good. Now, how much do you want for this? And how do I got to pay for this? Do I buy this over the internet on an ASP basis on a subscription model where I buy it $50 a month from you? Do I buy it annually? Do I pay for it now? How do I support it? Do you support it? Do you have a team to support it? Oh, no, we don't have a team yet. Oh, okay, so if I buy it, I'm like your guinea pig? Yeah, you're my guinea pig. Okay. That's a hard sale. That's your first sale. That's always the hard sale. And the second one isn't a hell of a lot easier. And the third one still isn't easy. And that doesn't mean you have anything. Because by the time you got 5 and 6 of them, there's still lots of questions, and there's still lots of infrastructure to be put in place to support it. And oh, by the way, you've heard the phrase, growth can kill you. Growth can be 4 customers if there's 1 or 2 of you in the office. So the business model is really critical, and I think on the front end I said, just because we can build it doesn't mean that there's necessarily a market for it, a need for it, or maybe a way to get it to them, to deliver it to them. One of the things you always want to think about, and by the way, this is, I don't know, I guess if I repeat this back to myself, I probably sound like a little bit of a naysayer after 26 years of doing startups. I'm not a naysayer at all. As a matter of fact, I think that if you're going to dream, if you're going to chase your dream, the biggest mistake people make is they don't make their dream big enough. They don't make your dream big enough. I'll tell you right now, in China and India, they're dreaming big. Big. We're not dreaming big here. We're dreaming comfortable. It's true. Dream big. Bigger than anybody around you will say you can do, because you'll figure out a way to do it. Human nature says you'll figure out a way to do it. Dream big, you'll fall somewhere in between. It's still more than what you would have if you dreamed small. I think that probably in itself is, if I were to impart on you anything, and it would just be, at the end of the day, when you're laying there and it's your last breath, it's going to be those risks you didn't take that you think about. Even at this point in my life, I look back and I say, damn, I should have taken that path. It's the risk I didn't take. It wasn't the ones I failed at. It's not the ones that I missed. It's the ones you didn't take. So entrepreneurism is about taking and trusting your instincts and your stomach, and it's about, doing the homework and the planning, and you're going to get in the game, and that customer's going to say, no, I won't buy it for free, but you'll find someone else that will, or you'll find someone else that needs it in a different way, because you've closed the doors behind you. Your idea is a good idea. You know it's a good idea. You figured it out. You did your homework. You did your math. And now, how much money do you need? Okay? How do you finance this thing? Well, you've talked about angel investors. You talked about friends and family, right? Friends and family first. No, they're broke. They're not going to give you any money. They don't trust you anyhow. So you're not getting any money there. Okay? Maybe dad's going to write you a check and say, well, here, this was going to be for your wedding, but I'm going to give it to you now, and hey, you figure out how to get married. That's a good deal. You should take that money. Don't worry about the wedding. And then, you're going to want to put together a presentation that takes your very sophisticated, complex idea and puts it in a presentation that synthesizes it in a way that your 4-year-old can understand it. The neighbor can understand it. So you want to take your idea and you want to put your PowerPoint presentation together. PowerPoint, I'm sure you're brain dead on PowerPoint because you probably do them for but I'm going to tell you something. It's a very powerful tool, one of the most powerful tools I've seen. Every venture capitalist, private equity firm, I don't care how, General Motors does PowerPoint presentations to their shareholder base because it's a way to communicate in a way that is thoughtful, organized, bullet points. I don't subscribe to 40-page business plans, by the way. Nobody reads them. Nobody reads them. That's not to say you shouldn't go through the exercise of writing something down about your plan. But I subscribe to a PowerPoint presentation that takes you thoughtfully through your idea, the need in the marketplace, where's the pain. Let me give you an example of pain. I'm sitting with a gentleman yesterday morning for breakfast, and he's explaining something. I'm just like, he's explaining this to me. It's like going over my head. This guy's brilliant. Serial entrepreneurs, always won. This guy's going to have a home run. I have no idea what he was talking about. Something about SQL, open source code database with Oracle and IBM, the DB2 system, and how it ties it all together, and it's seamless, and you don't need to have. Okay, so slow down. You got to summarize this so that if I can understand it, if you can take me through in 10 minutes, okay, and I can understand everything about this. The market, the opportunity, the technology itself, the need, and then tell me who's losing sleep tonight because that stuff doesn't exist. Okay? It doesn't exist today. You're going to build it, and then you're going to give it to somebody. Who's going to buy it? What are they doing today that you're going to displace? Because, these companies, the guys are going home at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, they're not worried about what you're trying to sell them. That's not a sense of urgency for them. So Jim over here's got this great idea, and I'm going to risk my career on Jim. I'm going to buy that stuff. I'm getting it done on an Excel spreadsheet. I don't need that stuff. I'm doing just fine. Matter of fact, if I buy that stuff, I might not have a job. You might displace me. So who's losing sleep? So I said to him, okay, if I buy that software from you for 10 grand, because I started to get it after, an hour, took me a while. If I buy that from you, who am I? Am I the CFO? Am I the CFO who says, I got to have fewer database administrators? He's calling them DBAs. I'm like, doing business as, what's a DBA? No, database administrator. I said, because you got to have a database administrator for every blah, 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 blah modules, But with this, you don't have to have an extra DBA. I said, well, the DBAs aren't going to buy this from you. It puts them out of business. The IT guy's, banging on the CFO for a bigger budget. He's not going to buy it from you. The CFO doesn't understand what the hell you're talking about. He's going to go back to the IT guy. The IT guy's going to say, that's crap. We don't need that stuff. We're doing just fine with this stuff. I need 4 more DBAs. $150,000 a year, DBAs. That's good. The $10,000 solution, which is, by the way, more productive, more efficient, better, but, he just sold against you. You just lost the sale, not because your stuff wasn't better, faster, cheaper, but because you didn't sell to the right person. Who's losing sleep? Okay? Did they teach this stuff? You learning this stuff? Who's losing sleep at night? Pain? Pain? Where's the pain? Honest to God, just raise your hand if you heard that before. Okay, good. Wow. Okay, let me tell you something. Honest to God, when you think about your idea, you got to think about it in those terms. Who is going to lose their job if I sell it to them? Because I don't want to sell to that guy or that girl. Who is under economic pressure that if they had this in their hands would be better? If company number 1 is too bureaucratic, company number 2 has a competitive advantage, and I need to position this product so that company number 2 sees this as an advantage over company number 1, so I got to sell it that way, and then I got to find somebody in the organization who's losing sleep tonight because they don't have this in their hands. I got to tell you something. When it comes down to it, and don't tell your professor I told you this, Dr. Carpenter. You can read all those textbooks you want, all that stuff. When it comes down to it, if you got something you got to sell to somebody, find out who is losing sleep at night because it's not in their hands. Where's the pain? So we had technology. It was 20% better than Motorola's, but we caused pain by introducing it. We didn't even think about it. Causing pain. I had a medical device product that gave doctors information they never had before, and we caused them more pain, not less. The patients would have done better with that information if the doctor knew what the hell to do with it when the doctor had it in his hands. So you got to think about it in those terms. I swear, I learned this about yesterday. I didn't learn it early enough. Fred Nussbaum, who was my partner who came into Clarity, who was my sales marketing guy, taught me pain and pleasure, human nature, basic instincts. We move towards pleasure, we move away from pain. I swear to you, if you take anything away from this discussion today, you think about your life on those 2 things. With your spouse, with your significant other, with your parents, with your teacher, pain and pleasure. Because you're always selling something to somebody. All right, so I sold Clarity March of 05 to a company that had a lot of pain without us. The marketplace wasn't embracing their silicon without this kind of technology on it. And so I'm going to tell you this was a really cool story. I'm in Amsterdam, and I'm having dinner with the CEO of CSR, who ultimately bought us. And this is now June of 04. and I was just 3 months divorced. So Amsterdam's a good place to be when you're in that situation. So I was single, Amsterdam, having fun, having dinner with the CEO of a big company, outside the country, having a great time, and he says, we want to buy your company. We had about 3 bottles of wine, I wants to buy my company, yeah, whatever. I said, no, really, what happened was, about 3 months ago, a software company was acquired by a competitor of ours. That software company we relied upon 100%. That competitor doesn't allow us to have that software. Now, here I am, $200 million company. This is the CEO of that company talking. And I don't have my fundamental Bluetooth stack software. And I can't let that happen again. So I have to buy you. So now I got goosebumps because there's a need, there's a pain that this guy experienced that now he doesn't want to experience again because he's now scrambling to figure out how to get the Bluetooth stack software from one of our colleagues we do business with that he's working with that I knew about, but my light bulb hadn't gone on this issue. So now he's basically hit me between the eyes with it, and now my light bulb's on. So I'm thinking, okay, he's serious. He's looking at us saying, I can't let that happen again, because he sees us moving towards the competitors that he has to, to deal with in the marketplace. And if that happens again, his board's going to look at him and say, wait a minute, you lost the first software company. Now you got the second software company that's meaningful to us. You're not doing your job. So he's got a personal issue. He's losing a lot of sleep at night. I got the right guy at the right table with the right amount of wine, and we're talking about selling the company. And if you think the golf course and that bottle of wine over dinner doesn't get you closer, I'm telling you guys, it's pain, pleasure, and it's people. It's not bricks and mortar. It's not how big your checkbook is. It's plain pleasure and people. And so I'm sitting there with him. I'm understanding his pain. I understand what he just went through. And now the business is positioned to be sold to a company that has a desperate need to protect the CEO's reputation and his strategic position in the marketplace and the business fundamentally to go forward. I wasn't paying attention that closely until he said, you know what just happened with XYZ company when they were acquired by our number one competitor. So when you're in a business, in my case, I'm going to speak selfishly about my experience. You can equate it to your learning. I've walked into more than a dozen companies in the last year and a half. I sat with the CEO and I said, because after I sold my company, I kind of went into consulting for a while until I figured out what I wanted to do next, which, by the way, I think I figured it out. And I'd ask these guys, what's the pulse of your business? What's the pulse of your company? What do you mean, pulse? Day to day. How do you know you're making progress? Your financial statements come out every month, 2 weeks later. It's like you're like running your company looking in the rearview mirror. How the hell are you going to do that today? Everybody's moving at the speed of light, and you're looking in the rearview mirror, your financial statements from last month. How do you know what's going on with your business every day? Oh, I don't know. I got our CRM system, which is our customer relation management system. My sales guys, they don't want to put the data in. I'm fighting with them. We got this great tool, but it takes some time to put the, customer A, B. I called on them today. They want this many units. This. It's a great tool, but my sales guys, they want to go do the next deal and close the next deal. They don't want to put the information in the system, so I don't know what the hell's going on here. I swear to God, the company's been around 10 years. Every one of them, 5 to 10 years, brilliant little companies. They don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on here. So I said, okay, look, I learned something in the last company I ran. I learned something really valuable. I learned how to get the pulse of the business. I guarantee you right now, Rick Wagoner at General Motors is still trying to figure out what the hell the pulse of General Motors is. It's too complicated. It's too big for him. Nah, there's a pulse there somewhere. It's a pulse. Maybe he figured it out by now. But I can tell you, there's businesses that have run for years didn't figure out what their pulse is. So I got 5 sales guys running around the world. And, they come back from their trip to Asia, and they come back from their trip to the, Middle East and to the Eastern Bloc, and, lots of stuff going on there. And I got this company wants our stuff, and that company wants our stuff, and I got proposals written over here, and I got this deal's going to close next week, and I got all that stuff in the CRM system, right? Don't worry about it. Just go in there and look it up, and you can see what's going on. I'm like, it's like taking it by a fire hose. So I said, okay, I got to figure out a way that tells me what's going on with my business. There's one little piece of paper. I swear to God, I ran this company on one little piece of paper and built, a $20 million business on one piece of paper. And all I did was I said, okay, what's important to me? I want to track the progress of my sales organization, the productivity of my sales organization, because everything happens with sales. I'm a CPA, and I put a lot of value on being an accountant numbers guy, but, at the end of the day, it's 2 weeks behind looking in the mirror. It's a necessary evil. What's important is looking forward. So I want to know, how many proposals did my sales organization write this week? Okay? How many did you write? That's important, right? That's important. That means they're productive. Well, let's talk about that. Okay, how many that have been written closed? How many that have been written and that haven't closed are still pending? And how many are lost, dropped? Now you got some data. Okay, so now I can tell next week, okay, we had a 120 proposal objective for the year. 5 sales guys each had to write so many. We had 120. We were on track. But think about what happens. You look at this little matrix here, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and you say, okay, we're writing proposals. Nothing's closing. Nothing's dropping. The pipeline's going up. We're just cranking out proposals. You want one? Hey, you want one? We'll give you. You want a proposal? Yeah, hey, we'll give you a proposal. Nobody's closing anything. That told me something. Okay, so now I had information. Proposals going out, nobody closing. Okay, closing's going up, no proposals going out. Everything's being dropped. We priced too high. Competitor beating our butts. What's going on? I mean, one stupid little piece of paper told me everything about the future of my business. I could develop a financial model, projections, cash flow, resources, headcount. I just knew exactly where my business is going just based on this little productivity. Not the first week, but after I had weeks of data, I could start to see, I could calibrate. Hey, you know, we're not getting as many proposals out. What's going on? Ray, I'm killing myself closing deals, so I need a couple more sales guys. I got to get my pipeline on. I got to get my proposals out the door. Maybe we need an in-house person calling on the phone. You know, maybe we need some telemarketing. There's so much I could tell from this one piece of paper. And I'll tell you, in the last year and a half, I walked into a dozen companies, sat down with their CEOs. None of them had this little piece of paper. So write it down, because someday you're going to be in a company running a sales organization, a financial organization. This one stupid little piece of paper, I swear to you, is going to teach you something. Because in all my years, this one piece of paper gave me a dashboard that I could calibrate the whole company around. Proposals written, proposals closed, those pending, and the ones that dropped. So this is just anecdotal stuff. Philosophy. I try not to have more than 6 things on a to-do list at any given time. I can't tell you how many meetings I call the staff together, and every Monday we have a meeting at lunch, and you guys come to the meeting and like 2 pages of things to do, 2 pages. Like, how do you go through all that and figure out what's most important? Well, this is just everything I got to do. So, well, if you did number 12 and number 1 didn't get done, did you really accomplish anything that's productive and meaningful? What's important now? What's important right now? So if you synthesize, I believe, if you synthesize this down, and there's some scientific data to this, the 6 things in your life. How many things do you do in your life? Right? You're a child. You're a student. You're a spouse or a parent. You're a grandparent. And maybe you got a hobby in between. Right? You had a career. And you're a sailor. I mean, really, when it comes down to your life, if you do more than 6 things, I mean, there are some people, I mean, you read that stuff off. I don't do all that stuff. That was just for the paper. But I mean, 6 things a month, 6 things a quarter, 6 things a year. I literally did our annual operating plan, said, nope, we're going to do 6 things this year. What are the 6 most important things? If we do nothing else but those 6 things, how much value can we create? If we do nothing more than today, those 6 things, how much can we get done? And if we only did number 1 and number 2, do we get the most important things done? So you think about that, take that with you if you want. And then if you can get your organization, your whole company to do that and get everybody on the same page, and you're working on the 6 most important things every day, every hour, every week, every month, amazing and how much more productive your organization can be. So we talked a little bit about delegation. 2 things you'll have to learn. You start your company, you own 100% of it, and you got to raise a little money because you're growing. You got 4 customers now, and you need 2 more employees. You got to figure out a way to grow your business, finance your business. You got to give up some of your company. Either you got to pay interest to a bank because you're financeable at a bank now, or you got to give up equity to somebody. So you're going to dilute yourself. So let me just say that a smaller piece of a bigger pie is always better than a bigger piece of nothing. Dilution is not a bad thing. Dilution can create value. Everybody know what dilution is? Okay, just quick. For those of you who didn't raise your hand, dilution is, I got a pie this big, okay, and I'm going to eat the whole pie. And, you know, you're going to feel bad after you ate it all, but you're going to eat the whole pie. Dilution is giving some of that pie to somebody else. Someone else just took a big piece of that pie, okay? However, when they take a piece of that pie, they put money in. They made the pie bigger. So dilution can be, you know, accretive or anti-dilutive, where the pie gets bigger or the opportunity gets bigger. And that's really what you ought to be looking at when you get diluted is this make it bigger? Because if not, I might as well sell the company right now and take 100% off the table, because by diluting it and losing my control or losing value, you know, I'm just basically, you know, got myself a job for the next whatever period of time. And the other thing is delegation. Don't limit the growth of your business or your opportunity based on your own ability to make decisions. Think like an emergency room doctor. Are we out of time? Okay. You guys don't want to go in here. This is more fun here. Think like an emergency room doctor. Now you got to think triage, prioritize. You honestly want to think about what's important right now. Don't work on the next thing. Today before I came out here, I had 15 things sitting in front of me. I had my priorities, and I had this going on. I don't do this very often. I did this once months ago, and so I had to at least look at my slides one time just to see if I knew what the heck I was going to be talking about, and half the stuff I've been making up along the way anyway. So, but it's like what's important now. If I'm going to be talking to these folks at 2 o'clock, I better look at this now. Okay, but there's several other phone calls to make, emails to do, and say, well, I have to get to those later because this is important right now. And this is just something that was, I think, culturally, we ran our company this way. Every employee that I brought into the company, and this is, I believe, when you venture out after you got your degree, look for a company that values this, truly values this. Now, I had this as a #1 slide in front of our employees every single month, and we asked them, do you know what's expected of you? Do you feel appreciated? Do you have the tools to do your job? Are we challenging you enough? Are you coasting? Are you busting, your tail? You're doing, and by the way, are we rewarding you properly? And the upside-down pyramid really reflected that at any given time, there was one employee in our company, one person carrying the whole company. That was very routine. Small companies, you're going to get this engineer over here who's the only person that knows how to solve that problem, and that person is carrying the whole company, and everybody's sitting around going, man, I hope he gets the answer, I hope he gets the answer, I hope he figures it out. Because the whole company's waiting. Or it's the CFO who's going to go out and raise the money. Or it's the CEO. Or it's the secretary who's trying to get us into a certain space at the trade show, because we need to be right front and center. Somebody's carrying the ball. And so, that's it. That's the end of my formal presentation. If you have any questions. Okay. No questions. I answered all your questions. Great.
So when you say, like Motorola invested in your company, $3 million investment, was that more of like an angel situation, or was there an expected return on that? Because they said you went to them trying to sell them something else. So they just give you a $3 million check, or did they have like some return?
Oh, no. Yeah. You have investors who have purely an economic interest, and you have investors who have a strategic angle as well. And in Motorola's case, and there are other agendas too, but in Motorola's case, they were purely they were a strategic angle, but they were very keen on the economic return because it was the venture arm of the company that made the investment. But the venture arm of the company wouldn't make the investment until the commercial side of the business said, there's value here in having this technology. So very dynamic relationship. So do you have more classes after this now? Yeah, you're just writing stuff on the board and, Okay. Well, I hope I entertained you. I hope it was at least entertaining. If you got something out of this, great. And it was my pleasure to come here. And I wish I had this kind of stuff when I was going to school to avoid all those mistakes that I made along the way.
I know, I enjoyed it.
Thanks very much.